Interstate 90 and have a massive impact on the schedule and the budget. To up the stakes once more, the team confront the next major problem. Boston has America's oldest subway system. Running across Fort Point Channel is the Red Line. The Red Line is made up of two aging tunnels built during the First World War. They lie just 26 feet beneath the bottom of the channel. The Big Dig's tunnel has to go across the bottom of the channel, but over the Red Line. The team must devise a way of laying 6 concrete tunnel boxes just 4 feet above the subway without crushing it. One section alone weighs more than 50,000 tons. To add to the problem, the Red Line will continue to operate throughout the entire construction, carrying 218,000 commuters every day. A collapse in the subway walls would result in the death of thousands and the flooding of the whole of downtown Boston.
And just at that time is when Chicago experienced probably one of the greater municipal disasters in this country's history.
A construction team driving piles beneath the Chicago River accidentally pierce a network of freight tunnels that run 40 feet beneath the streets of Chicago. 200 million gallons of river water pours into the tunnel system before reaching equilibrium. Basements are flooded, knocking out electric and natural gas services, and the subway is disrupted for a month. It cost the city $50 million in compensation alone. The Big Dig team are about to attempt a similar operation. But this time, if things go badly wrong, it won't be a river that comes flooding in, but the Atlantic Ocean. With the Chicago disaster in mind, the team knows that what they're about to attempt is the most dangerous and difficult part of the entire build. They plan the Fort Point Channel tunnel crossing in minute detail and with the utmost care.
One of our difficult factors below the channel is that there is an existing Red Line subway system which was built in 1914. We had to excavate out in the bottom of the channel to within only 4 foot of the existing Red Line subway tunnels.
The team then build 110 concrete foundations surrounding the Red Line. Each one is sunk 145 feet into solid bedrock. These will support the tunnel as it goes over the subway line. Each section is floated into the channel and lowered into place on top of the concrete supports bridging over the subway. Either end, temporary walls are built on top of the tunnel.
That allowed us to pump the water down on either side of the immersed tubes to allow us to build the remaining tunnel sections on each end.
By June 2001, the last of the 6 tunnel sections is floated into the Fort Point Channel. With so little room to maneuver, positioning each section has to be carefully choreographed.
And it was almost similar to like those the childhood toys when you had to slide all little numbers around and get them in order when you ended up all mixed up.
The tunnel sections are delicately lowered into position. Victory is in sight. Then, in the early hours of the morning on Saturday the 22nd of September 2001, disaster strikes. The tunnel section that meets land on the far side of Fort Point Channel springs a massive leak. A waterproof seal at the bottom of the tunnel has burst. And 70,000 gallons of the Atlantic Ocean starts to pour in every minute.
When we got here, it was like nothing I've ever expected. The amount of water we had coming in was demoralizing. It was incredible how much water we had coming in. I thought we could handle about anything that came at us, and Mother Nature kicked our butts.
With one side of the immersed tunnel rapidly filling with water, it creates an imbalance of pressure. If left unchecked, it has the potential to dislodge the tunnel sections from their foundations. If one section, weighing as much as a battleship, falls on the red line, it would spell disaster for the project and the city of Boston.
If the tunnel had dislodged, we would flood downtown. Tunnels would come off their caissons. It could go down on the red line and flood the red line. Those would be the two major catastrophes.
The team immediately mobilize. They have just minutes to come up with a solution. They decide to open the bulkhead doors between the tunnel sections to deliberately flood the entire tunnel and casting basin to equalize the pressure. It means ruining construction equipment, but there's little choice. And it works. The pressure is relieved, and the tunnel stays in place.
That day in September when we flooded the casting basin and had to let the water come all the way across, that was probably the lowest the project had ever been. We were just so close, and it got pulled away from us at the last minute.
To look up and see the look on all the people's faces who put 6, 7, 8 years of their life, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and just see it washed away, it was very demoralizing.
Work doesn't get back into full swing for more than 3 months. It's a major setback that costs an estimated $10 million. But it could have been a lot worse. By mid-January 2002, work continues on the tunnel, but they're behind schedule. The estimated budget has increased to $14 billion, and the public's confidence in the project is waning. But the problems are not yet over, not by a long shot. Once over the red line and across Fort Point Channel, the engineers must confront the next major problem. On the west side of the channel is a complex rail network for regional trains serving South Station. The team have to tunnel underneath these tracks without disturbing a single train. The problem is that at this point, the tunnel is only 15 feet below the surface, equivalent to the deep end of a swimming pool. To drive a vast concrete tunnel through the ground, this close to the rail tracks, could buckle the ground and dislodge them. Closing down the rail network is not an option. 150,000 commuters use South Station every day. The slightest disturbance could cause a major train derailment. To succeed, the team must be certain that the soil is strong enough to withstand the pressure. And there lies the next problem. Five years into construction, the Big Dig, one of the largest and most technically challenging and expensive civil engineering projects in the US, is tunneling its way under the city of Boston. Since 1630, Boston has been expanding into the harbor. Today, 70% of the city is built on landfill, a loose mixture of soil, brick, wood, concrete and sand. Below this is another weak layer of blue clay. The team knows that if they tunnel through this landfill so close to the surface, it could collapse around them. They must devise a way of strengthening it. And they come up with an ingenious solution: freezing the soil.
It was a whole potpourri of different types of soils in there. Nothing was uniform. There was no way to really solidify it, except for someone threw out the idea, let's freeze it.
Hundreds of thin pipes are threaded into the ground around the rail tracks up to a depth of 43 feet. Salt water, chilled to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, is then circulated through the pipes, gradually drawing heat out of the soil until it freezes solid. Once the soil is frozen, the team create a vast construction area known as a jacking pit. Inside it, they cast a concrete tunnel in sections. The construction team places the first tunnel section in position and begin tunneling their way into the frozen soil. Once the dirt is excavated, the tunnel section is inched forward into the void on giant hydraulic jacks. The technique known as tunnel jacking is desperately slow. An 8-hour shift moves a section just 3 feet.
In some areas, we were only 15 foot below the surface of the track bed as we pushed this tunnel structure the size of a high school gymnasium underneath the tracks themselves.
Throughout the entire process, 150,000 commuters pass overhead every day and know nothing of what is going on beneath them. It takes 15 months to jack the tunnel until it meets the Interstate 90. In January 2003, the connection is open to the public.
Let's give them the round of applause that they deserve for building this project.
The tunnel now stretches seamlessly from Logan Airport, under the harbour, through South Boston, under Fort Point Channel, over the Red Line subway, and under the South Station rail tracks to emerge above ground and join I-90, the interstate highway, that continues 3,089 miles to Seattle on the west coast of America. With the new connection, traffic heading for the airport from the south and west of the city no longer goes through the downtown area. For the first time, tangible benefits of the Big Dig are recognized by the public. With the connection from the airport to Interstate 90 complete, the team turn their attention to replacing the congested elevated roadway that runs through the downtown area. The plan is to tear it down and replace it with an 8-lane tunnel highway under the city, in the exact footprint of the raised artery. Road tunneling is nothing new. Traditionally, engineers use a method known as cut and cover. Cut a large trench in the earth and rock, build the tunnel floor and sides, and cover it on top. The problem is that the team cannot tear down the elevated roadway until they have built the tunnel. Closing the city down is obviously not an option. The ability to get traffic into the downtown area is what keeps Boston functioning. The team have to think outside the box. And there are 2 additional problems. How do you tunnel through landfill without the foundations of high-rise buildings weakening or even collapsing? Another problem is the water table, which in Boston is so high, it'll be more of an underwater tunnel than an underground one. The team comes up with a plan. They will underpin the existing elevated highway, allowing the traffic to continue using it, while they tunnel directly underneath it. It sounds simple, but it isn't. The trick is using a thick liquid known as slurry that is half the density of concrete. Slurry is a mix of volcanic clay and water and is used to stabilize the soil where it's weak or the water table is high. The team need to build a supporting wall that will take the weight of the entire elevated roadway. To do this, they dig a line of trenches. Each one is 10 feet wide, 3 feet thick, and excavated in some cases 140 feet down to bedrock. As the weak soil is removed, the cavity is filled with